everyone here is a student or other hopeful for the entertainment industry, okay, that's pretty much half the audience. Welcome. Yeah, we hope we'll get to find out some interesting tidbits for you guys to know how to make it in this field. But I wanted to open up, one of the things I found interesting over the last few months, whenever I talked to people, everybody had a slightly different strike experience. And I know some people said for them it was stressful to be ripped out of work. Other people actually enjoyed it, had fun meeting people. Leslie, maybe we'll start with you. Tell me a little bit about how the strike affected you and what you will remember for the rest of your life from the strike.
I learned I need a happy lamp next to my desk because being out in the sun was really nice. I learned that I had the courage of my convictions. I'm always I'm very political, but I never do anything about it. And this was a real opportunity to lead. I had a strike team.
Leslie was a real stalwart, I have to say. She was out there night and day. And
thank you.
Incredible.
It was. Yeah, I learned that I could do more than I thought, involving other people. I knew I could write in my room by myself, but having to lead, having to show up and walk in a circle for 4 hours at a time, it's actually very grueling. You're not moving very fast. But it's very grueling, and you have to make small talk. I said before, there were people on the picket line that had fired me in the past. There were people I did not like. There were people I idolized, on the other hand. It would take me months to go up and introduce myself to somebody. John Sayles, Walter Bernstein, who was part of the Blacklist. These people were out there. I felt that I was one of them. I felt like I was part of a community for the first time, as opposed to dog eat dog. And in, where I write right now in daytime TV, it's very dog eat dog. It's very competitive, not in a positive way a lot of the time. I felt like a writer again. It was inspiring, and I began to read about other strikes. I read about the Disney animation strike years ago and how Disney tried to break the strike. I learned a lot about the law. I learned a lot about labor in the city, other unions that came to support us. I met people I never would have met because they came to our rally in gangs to back us. You feel very isolated when you're alone with the page, fighting it a lot of the time. And this, while not, I wouldn't say it was fun. It was not fun. But it was very empowering and very inspiring. And the other thing is, since I was 16 years old, I've never had 100 days off in a row. So I had time to think about what I want to do next. And
tell us, what are you going to do next? Can you tell your bosses on TV right now?
Well, I started writing essays, started submitting to the Times and magazines and personal essays. I started a novel. And now we can go straight to the web with our stories, which is what we're here to talk about. We don't have to go through the networks. So I started working on the pilot that I had felt blocked on for so long because it just felt like such an exhaustive process to go up through the ranks. I started doing my own writing again, and that was a huge, huge gift. A lot of people did the same. It was, I wouldn't like to repeat it even in 3 years, but I will. We have to. But I learned about myself, and I'm not the only one. A lot of us have said we found places in ourselves we didn't know that were there, places of strength. I had no money. 2 months into it, I had zero. And I had to go ask the guild. They gave me a loan. I went back and polished my word processing skills, and I didn't mind because it was for the right thing. So that's my...
Now, interesting that you mentioned digital media, because that's one of the things that I heard from a lot of people who said, when I asked them, well, what are you doing in your free time now? Do you kind of secretly work on a movie script that you're not supposed to write and that nobody knows about right now? And a lot of people told me, well, we're actually trying to produce content for digital media, for websites. and you had the Daily Show writers who produced a lot of videos, that made it onto YouTube and other things, and for them it was a creative outlet. Now I was wondering, Matt, you don't employ people right now who are union members mostly, right? But tell us a little bit. So was your work at all interrupted? And did you see a lot of writers coming to you saying, you know what, actually, I can't do other work right now, but I would love to get involved with your type of business somewhere in the future?
Sure. I mean, we don't purposefully employ or not employ guild members because we're a startup internet company and not a guild signatory. So that part wasn't an issue.
Talk to you later.
Yeah, well, we're lucky for now. But it was a great time to be an internet company that had a broadcast outlet, which of course any internet site does. I have, because I was a film and television producer for a number of years, a large number of friends of mine are actors and writers in Los Angeles. And I'm working now with several of them who I never would have had the chance to work with before because they came to me and they said, we have nothing to do. And how about if we create some fun stuff for People Jam? And that's exactly what I'm in the middle of doing. So it turned out to be a benefit. I think in a couple of years when the economics of digital media advance a bit further, I would have a chance to work with some of these people and pay them appropriately. But since I don't have to do that now, and they had free time and a lot of creative ideas, it turned out to be a real fun experience for our company.
One of the things, when you're fighting this kind of asymmetrical warfare against these enormous media conglomerates, one of the things that we were effectively able to do was to turn our argument to our advantage in the sense that we were arguing that this strike is about the internet and new media, and the companies were saying to us, well, we don't know if there's any real, profit in that or any real revenues in it. We don't know if it's going to be effective at all. We were able to use that as an incredibly effective tool in terms of sharing our message. You mentioned the guys from Stewart and Colbert and Letterman folks and the Speechless campaign that George Hickenlooper did out in the West Coast. These were incredibly effective tools for us to get our message across, and they just had millions and millions of hits. So it was great.
Now, I'm wondering, Michael, one of the things that I heard from a lot of people is that they might continue to do more digital work, which of course might help people like Matt. At the same time, Matt mentioned he doesn't really have the money yet to pay them that much. Do you expect that a lot of people will kind of end up dabbling in different worlds now rather than being solely focused on
no question.
TV? Or
no question. I think it's absolutely. I mean, what Matt's referring to, but also all across. I mean, I was at several meetings in Los Angeles that just sort of rose up ad hoc meetings. I was at Steve Zalian's house one night for a meeting of about 24 of the top screenwriters in Hollywood to talk about exactly that kind of stuff. So I think we're going to see more and more of that.
Now, Sherry, I know you met a lot of writers out there as well. Now, you as the spokeswoman, for the WGA East, you obviously had to get out the message. Did you come up with like new outlets for getting the message out yourself? Michael mentioned that the internet was a good tool. Did you kind of figure out different ways to reach people?
The writers themselves were very resourceful in terms of, particularly in the early weeks on the picket line, they would come and do video shoots on the picket lines. We had the Mock Daily Show done when we were picketing down at Battery Park. We had another group that pretended to have an embedded writer on our picket line. and they did very comedic things that we sort of just helped facilitate. But the writers themselves came up with those and actually edited them, got in computers in basements in the middle of the night and posted them on YouTube. Both the Writers Guild East and the Writers Guild West membership strike captains set up their own websites, United Hollywood and Strike Points, where they actually hosted a lot of those videos and then got hooked up onto YouTube. And it was very powerful. Blogs themselves, there were a lot of blogs that sort of became more important during the course of the strike, and those editors were in constant contact with us or looking for real information as well as sort of scandalous information.
I mean, that was one of the great things. We had so many great ideas come up from within the membership. I mean, we did an event at the Players Club the day the Oscar nominations were put out, where we had all of our members who had received Oscars or Emmys or Tonys or Grammys or Peabodys or whatever came to the Players Club. We did a photo opportunity there where they all held their awards up and they said, you know, these are great, we're honored to have received them, but we trade all this in for a fair and decent contract. You know, this was an idea they came up with. And also, maybe you saw, you were talking about the Daily Show, we did a debate in Washington where we had, we took a bunch of the guys from Stewart and Colbert, we went down to Capitol Hill. Some of the congressmen let us use one of the hearing rooms in the Rayburn office building. We had two teams. We had the Stewart guys played the writers, and the Colbert guys played the producers, the AMPTP. And we had a mock debate. Dee Dee Myers, the former Clinton press secretary, was the moderator, and it was on, you know, YouTube within minutes, you know. And it just was hugely successful.
And that has a life of its own, because anything that wound up on YouTube wound up getting excerpted or generated their own stories that reporters or other media would call from, because it was easy enough for people to find that may not be on our contact list, although my contact list, I think I was blasting out to Media Daily of 200 to 300 people, media a day. They were coming from around the world because of YouTube.